before we get into the main part of the program, I first want to acknowledge that on this country, no matter where you are zooming in from, we are on indigenous land. Mohi itself is on the land of the Duwamish, Suquamish, and all Coast Salish people. At Mohi, we want to honor the forced displacement of Native communities and acknowledge that, while also honoring the endurance of the Duwamish people who still live here. To this day, the Duwamish people have yet to receive federal recognition, and we encourage you to learn more about them. The Duwamish Longhouse and Cultural Center is a great resource. I recommend you check out their website to learn more. I also want to take a note that this program is taking place at the same time as unprecedented protests against police violence towards Black people. These protests in our community and across the nation are a call to action for each of us to state unequivocally that Black Lives Matter, and Mohi stands unfalteringly with those who are calling for justice now. And tonight we're going to be thinking more about justice, about the things that we might like to see changed in our country, and how different ways we can influence that and refresh our democracy. So we hope that you'll get inspired. Get ready. A few more notes. Before I introduce our excellent host for the evening, Sharon Williams, I just want to give a little bit of context for this program. It's part of a larger Stand Up Seattle democracy project where we're going to be hosting programs educating our community on political and civic engagement. So please check out our website at mohi.org for more of those programs. But to do that, we're going to be featuring politicians, community leaders, and organizations that represent a broad range of political perspectives and tactics. Mohi is an educational institution and does not endorse or advocate any particular politics or policies represented by the speakers, their organizations, or co-presenters. The views expressed by the participants during, before, or after the program are theirs and theirs alone. It's also important to note that we invited many different organizations to be part of this tonight, but who you're going to see are who responded and not the broad range of people we would love to have. Just remember that there are so many different ways, and again, we hope this serves as an inspiration to get out there and learn more about the change happening in our community. So without further ado, I would now like to introduce our host and MC for the evening, Sharon Williams. Hello, Sharon.
Hi, Rachel. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'll give a little context and then I will give the stage over to you. So Sharon is the executive director at the Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas. She loves sharing stories through various genres and creating opportunities for Black artists to share their truth. For over 21 years, CD Forum has proven that Blackness is not a monolith in presenting and producing local and national artists. Thank you so much, Sharon, and take it away.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you everyone who is in attendance tonight. I am so excited to be here. I always love partnering with Mohi, and so thank you, and don't blame them too much for how bad of a host I'm going to be. But I look forward to having conversations with you throughout the night in the chat box and as we watch these videos. So first, one thing I want to tell you about the show is the way it was, the idea behind it came around the soapbox speeches where people used to stand on soapbox in public squares to profess their ideas to a crowd. The funny part about soapboxes, and Rachel and Nicole didn't know this from Mohi until I told them that I have incorporated soapboxes into our staff meetings for CD Forum. So basically what happens is that during our meeting, somebody can say, I have a soapbox. And it doesn't have to necessarily be about CD Forum work. It could be about community. It could be about anything. And they just go, and we all respect their space. We give them the space. They get it off their chest. And then they say, I'm done with my soapbox. But tonight we're doing it via video where people can get on their soapbox for a few minutes and tell about their organization and the work that they're doing. And so I'm really excited about hearing these different perspectives and moving us through tonight. We are also sharing digital versions of those different experiences and people that are pushing for a better democracy. You know, at CD Forum, the one thing that I love is giving voice and giving an opportunity for people to share their voice, and especially Black voices. And because I like to tear down the stereotypes of what people think they know about Black culture and allow individuals to shape their own stories, whether it's through dance, theater, poetry, music, whatever, so that people can hear from them directly. There's one thing to hear somebody's story or report it in a news on a news broadcast. There's another to sit in a theater, or now to sit behind a computer and listen to someone share their stories like these individuals would do tonight. And so I love to empower not only our artists, but our board, our audience, and our staff to share their voices. And however we can help to elevate that, then that is what I love doing. So we're refreshing democracy every day at CD Forum for everyone, so their voices can be heard. And the arts itself, storytelling is one of those things, and storytelling in various genres. I personally believe, and Rachel mentioned this, is that when we hear each other's stories and we hear each other's perspectives, then we learn more about each other, and that helps bring us together. So for example, if I sit here and tell you a story about how I lost my dog, and the things that I went through when mourning my dog, and how that was, and how I still think about my dog today. You may not have a dog, but you may have mourned something in your life, right? And so telling that story brings us closer together. One of the other things I like about storytelling too is like sometimes I start meetings with people I don't know and just be like, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite cereal? All those type of things to let us know that we're all human and we all have likes, dislikes, and there's some things that we can get behind that we agree on, and there's some things that we're going to disagree on. I don't like all kind of music. Okay, I do like all kind of music. I just don't like every music artist, but I digress. Let's get back to the show. So no matter if you feel as though somebody has a huge platform or a small platform, tonight we're bringing it together. So let's get started with refreshing democracy. Our first video is going to be of Roxana Pardo Garcia. She, aka Laraxi, is a self-identified hood intellectual Zingona that was born and raised on occupied Coast Salish territory. Roxana is the founder and owner of Laraxi Productions. Her mission is to elevate and amplify Zingonex and Latinx culture in the Pacific Northwest. And please forgive me if I pronounce anything wrong tonight. It is not of the heart, it is of my tongue, because it doesn't work right sometimes. Let's check out her video.
Hola a todos, my name is Roxana Pardo Garcia. I'm the owner, certified chingona, and culture worker at Laraxi Productions. Before I continue, I'd like to acknowledge that I work, live, and play on occupied Coast Salish territory. It's incredibly important to know that these land acknowledgements do not replace the much needed relationships that we must build with Indigenous communities on the lands that we occupy, but it also serves as a reminder and context for the relationship that we're engaging in with tonight. A little bit about Laraxi Productions. The mission is hood healing and liberation, and the vision is joyful ancestors and communities. I like to curate and create spaces that bring forth community building and joyous emotions. In addition, I like to knowledge share in a way that centers the lived realities and experiences of BIPOC communities in the Pacific Northwest. When I talk about re-envisioning democracy, I think about it through a healing justice framework. Healing justice is centered on Black queer feminist theory, and I'd like to acknowledge and give credit where credit is due. Healing justice asks us to create spaces and places and conversations that help intervene on the oppression that we feel on our bodies, our spirits, and in our hearts. I invite you all, your homies, your community, your colleagues, and your ancestors to work towards a place in which we can all be joyous, in which we can all live and create and thrive in spaces that bring out joy, that build community, that honor our histories, but move to remove the barriers that systemic oppression, colonization, and white supremacy have created for so many of us. In addition, when I think about re-envisioning democracy and what that means to me, to the communities that I am accountable to and that I have relationship with, I think about what it would be like to live in a society that honors our elders, that honors our youth, that honors Black, Indigenous people of color, that honors and values transgender, nonconforming, and queer folks. So tonight, I invite you all to reimagine democracy with me. I invite you all to invest in the healing of self, in the healing of land, in the healing of our communities, and in the healing of our ancestors, so that 7 generations ahead can better define and thrive in their versions of democracy. Thank you.
Wow. I think Roxana is my sister in another lifetime, because everything she said, I totally agreed with. I mean, healing of yourself. I travel in a lot of circles right now to where people are talking about healing circles and things of that nature. And I love that concept of a healing circle. But if you don't start at home within yourself, then and wanting to make that change or to see a different perspective, then you can't heal. But taking that time and really making space for and breathing through your beliefs and taking care of your body and your mind and your spirit is one thing that I've learned more and more during this pandemic, is the why I want to do things, the how I'm going to do things, and just being really genuine. I used to check on people all the time to say, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? But now it's really like, how are you doing? Meaning it and really hearing them report back and say back how they feel and giving them that space to own that their conversation and what they want to really say and not just doing it for show. And so I really do appreciate that. And it's about everyone. It's about everyone, no matter what you do, no matter what your ethnicity is, no matter if you're LGBTQIA+, no matter if you're hetero, no matter what, it's about really taking care of yourself and wanting to heal and get in spaces where we can have really good conversations and move things forward. Our next video that we're going to be watching is going to be from courtesy of GSBA and Luis Chernin. And if you haven't heard of GSBA in Washington State, then I don't know where you've been, because I've heard of GSBA. I actually went to a meeting months and months ago, pre-COVID, and really had a chance to go to their offices in Capitol Hill and hear some of the work that they were doing. And so GSBA is Washington State's LGBTQ and Allied Chamber of Commerce, and is the largest of its kind in North America. They represent over 1,300 small businesses, corporate and nonprofit members who share the values of promoting equality and diversity in the workplace. Let's hear from GSBA.
Independent local businesses are part of what make our communities unique. GSBA's network creates opportunities for businesses to ensure that they thrive. We are GSBA, Washington State's LGBTQ and Allied Chamber of Commerce. Support your community by supporting independent small businesses and corporations that believe equality is good business.
Ever since our inception in 1981, GSBA understood the importance of civic engagement. Although we were business leaders, we knew that we could use our position as an economic engine of our city to influence policy. We're different from other business chambers in that we understand that equality and workers' rights are important. So we support progressive business policies, whether it be increasing the state's minimum wage, whether it be paid sick and safe leave, but we also understand that it is not just important to advocate for those things, but be the voice and to talk about the impact that policies, employer policies, have on small business. We are proud of the history we have around civic engagement and advocacy.
It's always been one of our central values to promote civic engagement among our membership. When people think of their neighborhoods, when people think of where they're from, the small businesses are often part of that fabric. A couple years ago, we realized that we needed an official recognized voice for the LGBTQ community at Washington State. And one way that other communities have found to do this is to create a statewide commission. We worked with Governor Inslee and all of our community organizations to create the very first Washington State LGBTQ Commission, and I'm very proud to serve as a member of that commission. But that is a way for the LGBTQ voice to be officially recognized at the state of Washington in policymaking issues, when they're coming to cultural competency in the state departments and agencies, and all these other ways that our community was often left out of discussions that really vitally impacted our communities.
Wow, such powerful work, and have an influence in their community for the better. So Voice and Impact, state level LGBTQ commission. I was on the city level of the Arts Commission, and that's a lot of work, but it's all about being at the table and being part of those conversations. And so sometimes I personally get asked to be at some tables, and I'm like, wow, I have to be at this table because I need to represent not only myself, but the people that I work with sometimes, and hearing their voices and sharing what I've learned from all of them at the table. So thank you, GSBA, for the work that you do. Our next group that we're going to be hearing from is Seattle Cultural Accessibility Consortium, Elizabeth Ralston. Very important work. Their mission is to connect arts and cultural organizations with information and resources to improve accessibility for people of all abilities. They are fiscally sponsored by Shunpike. Let's hear from Elizabeth.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Ralston, and I founded the Seattle Cultural Accessibility Consortium 2 years ago because I saw a need for improvements to and education about accessibility within our regional arts and culture community. For folks who are blind or low vision, I'm a white woman with thin-length, wavy silver hair. I'm wearing a blue shirt and I'm sitting in front of a bookshop. The consortium connects arts and cultural organizations with information and resources to improve accessibility for people of all abilities. Most art organizations operate with very limited funds, so it's difficult for them to stay abreast of accessibility requirements and advancements. We fill that gap. And while our primary focus is on the arts, we also recognize the broader impact of accessibility in determining who can participate in society. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there are 61 million adults in the U.S. living with a disability. That's 1 in 4. Disability spans race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, immigration status, socioeconomic status, and religion. For this reason, access for people with disabilities is an important issue for all communities. The consortium believes that people of all abilities should be able to participate and be an integral part of society. Democracy can be a powerful means of achieving this. Like a quilt, the beauty and strength of the whole comes from the diversity of the parts. Our democracy will be strengthened when we fully incorporate the voices, opinions, and perspectives of everyone. For a successful democratic system to operate, accessibility for people of all abilities is essential. Far too often, campaign events and even voting facilities are not accessible for all. Facilities might only have stairs or not have accessible voting machines. There might not be ASL interpreters on site or captioning available. Poll workers and support staff might be inadequately trained. Inclusion and equity are just meaningless buzzwords without a comprehensive accessibility plan. Everyone must be included and afforded the opportunity to participate. Failure to meet the baseline means that our systems won't truly be fair and the voter's voice won't be heard. We must consider universal design principles, and that means creating a supportive environment where the needs of all are met. For our society to thrive within a strong democracy, where everyone has a voice and operates within a just, inclusive, and equitable system, accessibility must be included as a key ingredient.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and I want to apologize for everyone. I totally forgot to say that I am a caramel complexion Black woman with coffee colored dreadlocks hanging in my face, a few strands, with a red hat on. I am wearing a black shirt with the Coca-Cola top on it in white. Behind me, I have a rust-colored brown, black, and red curtains hanging with some art that you can't really see, and a beautiful, colorful yellow, red, black, yellow painting that I made myself because I am sitting in my living room on my couch. So I apologize, but what I love that Elizabeth said is that, you know, we have to learn, and we have to be more inclusive of everyone, that everyone has an opportunity to fully engage. And although their organization is specifically around the arts and culture, I went to their website because our organization has started talking more about accessibility in the pre-COVID, and how do we get better. And so we're taking small steps. We're not perfect, and we're learning as we go. But what this pandemic has showed me around CD form specifically is that this medium of looking at our computers and finding information has made our programming more accessible, but now we're adding things like that we didn't add before, like subtitles and introductions of what we look like and what our surroundings are, and transcripts, making those type things available. So, I mean, it took us a long time just to put on our website that the building that we operate out of, Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, is ADA accessible. And so just in the mindset and working harder to do that. So I want to encourage you, if at your job or at your wherever you go, if you notice that it's not really accessible, ask the questions and see if you can help create change. So thank you, Elizabeth, and the Seattle Cultural Accessibility Consortium for all you do. Next, we will have Juntos, Podemos, Cuidar, Nuestro, Rio Duwamish, also known as Together We Can Care for Our Duwamish River. It's a youth-led community project of Duwamish Valley Sustainability Group, and that raises awareness of the contamination in the Duwamish River through creating educational videos. Let's hear from the group.
Hello, my name is Edwin Hernandez. I am the project manager of the program Juntos y Podemos Cuidar Nuestro Río Duwamish. They are part of my project.
Hi, my name is Fatima. This is
Frankie, and this is
Kevin. This is
Carlos. I am passionate for this program because I like to draw, write, and make videos, but at the same time help spread the word about our contaminated river and its consequences to our community.
I am an advocate for the Duwamish River because you can't eat the fish or seafood from the river except a small portion of salmon. Also, 20,000 acres of land is contaminated, and the ecology department is in charge of cleaning the ground before the EPA removes it.
The program taught us how to do interviews, how to make videos, how to do comics. All of this we use to share information to our community using our social media.
This is important for our community to know because they could have diseases. This issue is not only targeted to fishermen, but also pregnant, elders, and youth. We also want the community to know that many organizations are working to clean the river and how to maintain it clean.
The cleanup of our Duwamish River is going to take around 20 years. We would like to continue working in this program until our Duwamish River is clean. For this to happen, we need funds to continue working for our community.
We need hands, a simple request. We need hands to continue to work for the Duwamish River and to clean it up. You know, it's beautiful to watch kids, and I know for those of you who have kids out there, I know you're like, when are they getting out of my house? I love them, but I need them to go back to school. But what if they participated in programs like this, where they're really learning how to take care of our ecosystem? And I get excited when I hear young people teaching us. They have learned, and thank you to everyone at that organization, Juntos, Podemos, Cuidar, Nuestro, Rio, Duwamish, of bringing them together to teach them something that they can care about and understand. Like, they can understand why you can't eat all fish or seafood because it came from the contaminated water, or they can understand how to get skill sets as far as interviewing and creating comics and using social media to get the word out. So kudos to everyone, and kudos to the parents of their youth and their supporters that have them in that program. And like they said, they need hands, all hands on deck. Next, we will have Democracy Live, Brian Finney. Democracy Live is a Seattle-based company that seeks to modernize voting in America by allowing voters to access their ballot and balloting information anytime and anywhere across multiple platforms and media. Let's hear from Brian.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Finney. I'm the president and founder of Seattle-based Democracy Live. And I'd like to be able to thank all of you who are watching this video here today, and especially the Museum of History and Industry, for inviting me to speak about the future of voting, the future of how we do democracy in this country. And that's exactly what Democracy Live has been doing for the last 10 years. Initially starting working with the University of Washington Center for Technology and Disabilities, Democracy Live worked to create an online accessible balloting portal for blind and disabled voters to be able to independently and privately access and mark their ballot. We then were selected by the U.S. Department of Defense to provide the same type of secure portal for our military and others that are living and serving abroad to be able to access their ballot, no matter where they're living in the world. So to date, we've had over 95 countries where voters from the United States have been able to use Democracy Live technologies to be able to vote. If you are a GI in Kandahar, if you're a submariner in the Pacific, if you're a missionary in Zaire or a scientist in Antarctica, voters all around the world have been able to vote. Voters who can't see their ballot, they've got Parkinson's, they have palsy, they have a level of paralysis, or they're blind. They're not able to hold a pen or see their ballot and mark their ballot. That's where Democracy Live has come in to be able to extend democracy and fully enfranchise all voters. And that's really the mission of Democracy Live, is to enfranchise the disenfranchised. And we're especially excited about the next generation of voters who are going to come to demand next generation voting technologies. Voters who are young, just starting out, newer voters, they've all been growing up on their smart devices and phones and tablets. It is about time that we start extending the balloting and voting experience to those voters. We can do this. 50 years ago, we put a man on the moon and returned him safely to the planet. JFK said, we don't do these things because they are easy. We do these things because they are hard. We understand that we can deliver a ballot to a voter somewhere around the world and return that ballot successfully and securely back to the elections office. We can do this. Democracy Live is doing this, providing mobile voting and accessible voting to all voters, regardless of disabilities, regardless of geography, or regardless of their limitations, especially during a pandemic, when some voters are going to be too concerned about voting at a public polling location during this pandemic. So that's why we exist, that's why we're here, and that's why I wanted to say thank you especially to the Museum of History and Industry for inviting us to speak about what we're doing here at Democracy Live to help enhance our democracy for this election and for decades to come. Thank you very much. My name is Brian Finney at democracylive.com. Check us out, www.democracylive.com. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Brian and Democracy Live. 10 years of doing good work. And, you know, it is about accessibility, right? It's about, I mean, that's a common theme that we're hearing here in the event tonight is around making things accessible. And, you know, when we first started voting by mail here in Washington State, I don't know about you, but I lost it for a while. I was like, no, I have to go to the polls. I need to see the community. That's the only place I go to see my entire community is when I get to vote. And then I had to ease into it. And then finally I was like, wow, I get to take so much time with my ballot. I get to jump on the computer, look at the pamphlet that they send us. But you know, knowing that some people don't have the accessibility of being able to know where your ballot is and process, that's a scary idea, right? It's even scary for me when I drive it down the street to the courthouse box that's there. I don't put it in the mail. I'm very picky about where I put my ballot. I put it in a specific ballot box. And then, you know, I have my little slip that tells me where I can check on it, but that's about it. And so just making sure that people can have the accessibility with all this technology that we have to just go on your phone and say, I see where my ballot is. And especially when we're encouraging people to vote time and time again, let's keep the communication open. Let's keep the transparency there so that everybody has the same accessibility rights. Thank you, Democracy Live. Next, we will have Jessica Garcia. She advocates for the option to choose charter schools, among other publicly funded choices. She currently serves on the Washington State Charter School Commission and an independent state agency. Let's hear from Jessica.
As we get ready to close out 2020 and approach 2021, it deeply saddens me to see the topic of school choice and education continue to be used as a political tool to divide communities, to divide neighbors, but more shamefully, to divide children from the chance to access a quality education. A quality education that meets their needs and meets them where they're at in their communities. Education should never be a partisan issue. Education should be one of those topics that unites everybody. It should be one of those things that we all agree on. Lawmakers should be asking one question: what can I do to support you, your child, and your community? What can I do to make sure your child receives the quality education they deserve? And that's the crux of it. We deserve the chance for our children to access a high quality education that ensures that they reach heights that many of us continue to dream about. But for them, it won't be a dream. It'll be a reality. A reality met if they have the opportunity to access the education that best suits their needs. When you support school choice, when you participate in school choice, you are participating in democracy by literally voting with your feet. You have signaled to your local lawmakers and your local policy writers that this is the avenue that best meets your child where they are at. You have cast a vote the moment your child steps through those doors, the moment your child accesses that program. The moment you say enough is enough, my child deserves better, my community deserves better, and we think they'll achieve it by this other option. That's democracy in action. That's you taking a stand. You have just signaled to lawmakers by voting with your feet that you mean business.
Thank you, Jessica. You know, the heart of what Jessica is talking about is what I believe parents, and I'm an auntie, I'm gonna be honest, I do not have any kids. I have a nice dog. Um, but I have nephews and nieces, and I think every parent wants good education for their kid. They want them to have the best opportunity to do well in school, and then take that knowledge from school and move through life. And so, you know, I'm totally behind educating our kids and everybody getting a fair shake at what it means to have a really good education. No matter, it's a school, and all schools, all schools should be created equal, just like everything else should be created equal, but it's not. And that's the reality of our situation. So in fighting for your child's education, or for the education of children to come, you do that by voting. Yeah, you like the way I slipped that back in there, didn't you? Refreshing democracy, you know. I'm refreshing democracy and trying to play with my words to put it back in your head in a different kind of way. But, you know, education is key, and I am totally grateful for the education I had as a child. I was in the same system from K through 12, and then went to college. And then I have to admit, and I don't know if some of y'all thought this though, because I think this all the time. They tell you what to do from K to 12, right? You have to go to school every day, blah, blah, blah. Then you go to college, right? If you choose to, or do whatever you want to do. But then they stop telling you what to do. You get a job, and then you have to figure all that out yourself. How many times I know I've said it a million times of, can somebody just tap me on the shoulder and tell me what the next step is going to be? You told me when to go from kindergarten to first grade. Can you tell me what I'm supposed to do now that I'm in the real world? And nobody's telling me nothing. But education is the key, right? Let's get our kids educated in the best education possible for all of them. Next, we will have a video by representing Nickelsville. Is a self-governing community for people experiencing homelessness, which emerged during the administration of former Mayor Greg Nickels, hence the name Nickelsville, who ordered regular sweeps of homeless encampments in the early 2000s. Let's hear from the people at Nickelsville.
Democracy is responsibility, hard work. It's a lot of decisions that people take into their own hands that have dramatic effects on their lives here. It's what I like to call a living democracy, you know, because people here live it every day. I think the rest of the country could learn a lot from what we do here on a daily basis. You know, there isn't just showing up once a year to vote. It's engaging in that democracy every day. But that's what we do here every day, is we work at the little bits of democracy that people taking their lives into their own hands and making decisions in a community. I mean, that's what democracy is. It's what it's supposed to be. It's my understanding of what the forefathers were seeking out to do. That's what democracy is to me.
Democracy takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of commitment. You know, when you're on the street by yourself, it's just you have to worry about. But when you move into a place like this, you know, you've got to remember that what you do can affect your neighbor that lives with you or even on the outside of this community, you know. We take a lot of pride here that we're self-managed. I know I take a lot of pride in being self-managed. We speak truth to power, and that scares them. And they've done everything in their power to stifle us, to cast us aside, to forget about us. And we're not going away. We're not going away. I tell you what, I went to City Hall so many times that they knew me by my first name. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad, but when you walk in and say, hey, Bruce, how's it going? You know, that's got to tell you something. You know, we kept getting turned down. We kept showing up with pink shirts and standing there, and, you know, we just didn't give up. We were determined. And I remember at one point, near the end of last year's city council session, they finally recognized us by saying our determination. You know, I can't remember what it was totally about, but it was because of our determination that they decided to listen to us.
Man, the best part about this type of show and this type of program is hearing from the people directly and allowing them to tell their own stories about being engaged every day. Yes, you do need to vote when it's time to vote, but it doesn't just stop there. But at the same time, everyone does their own work towards democracy their way. Some people will make videos. Some people will march. Some people will be at the table for conversations on commissions, or they'll be in their neighborhood watch. There's different ways for everyone to participate. And you just have to, if you want to, find the way that will best serve your skill set and where you feel comfortable. There's no right way or wrong way to refresh democracy. There's just an opportunity to refresh democracy if you want it. We have choices, and I hope that you choose to bring community together in some kind of way. And every way counts, no matter if it's small or if it's big. We're all doing work. It takes 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time, one person at a time to make change or to make a better way. And so I love it when they said democracy is community, democracy is hard work and commitment, and it's a continuum of speaking truth to power. And we as humans aren't going anywhere. So let's refresh democracy. There's a place for everyone to find where they want to make change and be part of refreshing democracy. I will continue, I promise and make a commitment to continue to refresh democracy with the work I do for the Central District Forum, for the work I do with the Historic Central Area Arts and Cultural District, for the love that I give to my family and my friends and community, for the stories that I tell on the stage, and for you, for all of you. I'm working on doing my part in refreshing community, and I just want to say, please vote, but don't let the work stop there. That's one step in the process of doing this work. So thank you for allowing me to be your host tonight. I hope I didn't do too bad of a job, that you write to Mohai and say how much you didn't like me, but I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, because you could have been anywhere tonight and you decided to spend it with me. I appreciate you. I respect you. Much love. In the name of community, thank you. Now let's bring back Miss Rachel.
Thank you, Sharon. That was amazing. And thank you to everyone. We have some of the folks from the video here tonight, the different videos. So thank you to all the organizations that shared their passion with us, that shared their visions, that shared their ideas. It's so inspiring. If you feel so inspired, if you have an idea of what you would like to do for refreshing democracy, as we're closing up, drop it in the chat. I would love to see that, and I think some other folks here would too. Because I feel like, you know, what Sharon was just getting at is that democracy is community, democracy is people. We wouldn't have anything if we didn't have the people. We are what makes a democracy. And so please find what your passion is, find where you want to make a change, get out there and vote, but do other things too. As the last video just said, you can vote once a year, but there's a whole rest of the year to do things as well. So thank you. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are going to be doing civic-related programs all fall, so join us next Saturday, October 10th, and we're going to be looking at political parties and the crisis of democracy with UW professor Christopher Parker and Lance Bennett. It's going to be very intriguing, that history of how have we gotten to where we are now with our political parties and where they stand. Also, if you learned something new or enjoy the work we're doing in this unprecedented time in history, please consider making a gift or becoming a member to sustain this work and support future programs and help us continue beyond this unforeseen closure. We hope at some point to be able to welcome you all back into our doors, and your gifts will help us get there. And thank you again for joining us. As you exit Zoom, you will see a donation page pop up in the web browser, or you could visit mohai.org. Thank you so much. Please stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you back in this virtual space again soon. Have a lovely evening.
Bye.
Bye.